Clean it again. You are becoming lazy in this house.
Xavier stood frozen in the shadows of the hallway, his breath caught in his throat, his hands curled into fists so tight his knuckles cracked. Through the crack in the door, he watched the woman he was supposed to marry, the woman he thought he loved, standing over an elderly woman like she was dirt beneath her designer heels. "You're pathetic," Vanessa spat, her beautiful face twisted with disgust. "You call this clean? A child could do better than this. I don't even know why Xavier keeps someone as useless as you around." The old woman, Miss Helen, the new housekeeper, stood there with her head slightly bowed. She didn't fight back. She didn't cry. She just absorbed every cruel word like she'd been absorbing cruelty her whole life. "I'm sorry, ma'am," Miss Helen said quietly. "I'll do better." "You'd better," Vanessa snapped. "Or I'll make sure you're thrown out on the street where you belong. Now get out of my sight before I lose my appetite." Xavier watched Miss Helen shuffle out of the room. Something about the way she moved, the quiet dignity in her steps despite the humiliation, made his chest ache in a way he couldn't explain. But what Vanessa didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, was that Miss Helen wasn't just some random housekeeper. Miss Helen was Xavier's mother. And she had just shown him exactly who Vanessa Monroe really was. But how did they get here? How did Xavier's mother end up pretending to be a maid in her own son's mansion? And why would a billionaire's mother put herself through such humiliation? To understand that, we need to go back, way back, to a time before Xavier existed, to a time when his mother was just a 17-year-old girl named Destiny Williams who made the mistake of believing a man's promises. This story will break your heart, put it back together, and then break it again. It's about betrayal, survival, and the kind of love that money can't buy. If you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell because you don't want to miss a single moment of what happens next. Now let me take you back to where it all began. 23 years earlier, in a small town just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, life moved slow and everybody knew everybody's business. Destiny Williams was 17 years old with dreams bigger than the whole state. She had skin like warm honey, eyes that sparkled when she laughed, and a heart that believed in fairytale endings. She was the daughter of Pastor Richard Williams and First Lady Gloria Williams, pillars of the community, respected by everyone, and strict as they came. "No dadding until you're 18, her father always said. "And even then, I need to meet the boy, his parents, his pastor, and his intentions." Destiny always nodded and said, "Yes, Daddy." But Destiny had a secret. His name was Derek Thompson. Derek was 19, tall, and had the kind of smile that made girls forget their home training. He worked part-time at the auto shop on Main Street and had plans to go to Morehouse College in the fall. At least, that's what he told Destiny. "You're the only girl for me," Derek whispered to her one evening as they sat by the creek behind the old Miller farm. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink, and Destiny felt like she was living inside a romance novel. "You mean that?" she asked, her heart dancing in her chest. Derek took her hand. His grip was warm and strong. "One day, everybody in this town is gonna call you my wife. I promise you that, Destiny. You just gotta trust me." And Destiny trusted him. She trusted him through secret phone calls and hidden meetings. She trusted him through stolen kisses and whispered promises. She trusted him even when her gut told her to slow down. She trusted him right up until the moment she realized she was pregnant. The morning Destiny found out, she sat on the bathroom floor of her parents' house, staring at the positive test in her trembling hands. Her whole body went cold. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." But the test didn't care about her prayers. The test didn't care about her daddy's reputation or her mama's expectations. The test just showed two little lines that were about to destroy her entire world. Destiny hid the test in her purse and went straight to the auto shop. Derek was under a car when she arrived, his jeans stained with grease. When he saw her face, he slid out and wiped his hands on a rag. "Destiny, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." She couldn't speak. She just handed him the test. Derek stared at it. His face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. Confusion, shock, fear, and then something that made Destiny's blood run cold. Anger. How did this happen? He demanded. Destiny blinked. What do you mean how? Derek, you were there. I'm not ready for this, he cut her off. His voice was sharp now, different, like she was talking to a stranger. I'm about to start college. I got plans, Destiny. I can't be tied down to a baby. Destiny felt the ground shift beneath her feet. But you said I was the only one. You said we were gonna get married. That was just talk. Derek's voice rose, then dropped when he noticed another mechanic looking their way. He stepped closer to Destiny and lowered his voice to a hiss. Look, I like you, I do, but a baby, I'm not ready to be somebody's father. I can't do this. We can face this together, Destiny pleaded. Her voice cracked. Tears were building in her eyes. Please, Derek, I can't do this alone. My parents are gonna. I want nothing to do with you, or that baby. The words hit Destiny like a physical blow. She actually stepped backward like he'd pushed her. Derek, please. Forget about me, Destiny. He turned his back on her and picked up his wrench. Act like you never knew me. It's better for both of us. Derek. But he was already sliding back under the car, disappearing from her life as easily as he'd slid into it. Destiny stood there in that auto shop for a full minute, unable to move. The other mechanics were pretending not to watch. A radio played some old R&B song in the background. The smell of motor oil and betrayal hung thick in the air. Finally, she turned and walked away. She didn't cry until she got home, and then she cried for 3 hours straight. For 2 weeks, Destiny kept her secret. She walked around her parents' house like a ghost, barely eating, barely speaking. She kept hoping Derek would change his mind, that he'd show up at her door with flowers and apologies and a plan. He never came. And then one Sunday morning, right after church, Destiny's mother found the pregnancy test. Destiny was in her room when she heard her mother scream her name. Destiny Marie Williams. The sound of those words, spoken in that tone, made Destiny's stomach drop to her feet. She knew it was over. When she walked into the living room, both her parents were standing there. Her father's face was stone. Her mother's face was wet with tears, and in her mother's hand was that little plastic test that had destroyed everything. Is this true? Her father asked. His voice was quiet, too quiet. Destiny couldn't speak. She just nodded. What happened next would haunt her for years. Her mother fell into a chair and started sobbing. How could you do this to us, to our family, to our name? I'm sorry, Destiny whispered. I'm so sorry. Sorry, her father's voice exploded. Sorry, do you have any idea what you've done? I'm a pastor, Destiny. Your mother is the first lady. How are we supposed to face this congregation? How are we supposed to explain that our daughter, our 17-year-old daughter, is pregnant? Daddy, I didn't mean for this to happen. Who is the father? Her mother demanded through her tears. Destiny hesitated. Derek Thompson. Her father laughed bitterly. That boy from the auto shop, the one with no future and no family worth speaking of, that's who you chose to throw your life away with. He said he loved me. He used you. Her father slammed his hand on the table so hard the lamp shook. And now he's nowhere to be found, is he? Is he here standing beside you? Is he offering to marry you and make this right? Destiny couldn't answer, because the answer was no. Her father paced the room like a caged animal. Her mother kept crying. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked away the seconds of Destiny's old life. Finally, her father stopped packing. He turned to face her, and his eyes were cold. You have brought shame on this family, he said. Shame on this house. Shame on everything I've built. Daddy, please. Pack your things. Destiny's heart stopped. What? You heard me. Pack your things and leave this house before morning. Richard, her mother started. No, Gloria, her father held up his hand. We have 2 younger children watching. We have a reputation to protect. We cannot have this sin living under our roof. Destiny fell to her knees. "Daddy, please, I have nowhere to go. I don't have any money, I don't have anywhere." "You should have thought about that before you opened your legs for that worthless boy." The words were like a slap. Destiny couldn't breathe. "Mama," she turned to her mother, desperate. "Mama, please, please don't let him do this. I'm your daughter." Her mother looked at her with tears streaming down her face. But she didn't move. She didn't speak up. She just sat there, hands folded in her lap, letting it happen. "Go pack," her father repeated, "and be gone by sunrise." That night, Destiny packed everything she owned into one suitcase and one backpack. It wasn't much. Some clothes, a Bible her grandmother had given her, a photograph of her family from happier times, $23 she'd saved from birthday money. $23, and a baby growing inside her. Before she left, her mother came to her room. For one moment, Destiny thought maybe, just maybe, her mother had changed her mind. But her mother just pressed something into her hand. It was a small wad of cash, maybe $100. "This is all I can give you without your father knowing," her mother whispered. "May God keep you, Destiny." And then she was gone. Destiny walked out of her childhood home at 5:47 a.m., just as the sky was turning gray with the first hint of dawn. She looked back once at the house where she'd grown up, the white shutters, the flower boxes her mother tended, the porch swing where she'd spent 1,000 summer evenings. Then she turned and walked away. She was 17 years old, pregnant, alone, with $123 in her pocket and not a single friend to call. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever felt completely alone? Like the whole world turned its back on you? If you have, then you already understand what Destiny was feeling in that moment. But if you're watching this and feeling alone right now, I want you to know that Destiny's story doesn't end here. Not even close. Keep watching. The next few months were the hardest of Destiny's life. She took a bus to Atlanta because it was the only city she knew, and she figured she could disappear there. Find work, figure things out. But Atlanta didn't care about her plans. She slept in a women's shelter for the first 2 weeks. Then she found a room to rent in a woman's basement, a cold, damp space with no windows and a mattress that smelled like mildew. It cost half her money just for the first month. She looked for work everywhere. But who wanted to hire a pregnant teenager with no experience and no references? Door after door closed in her face. Finally, she found a job as a maid in a wealthy neighborhood called Buckhead. The family that hired her, the Carters, had a big house with 6 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms and enough dirty laundry to bury a person alive. Destiny cleaned their toilets. She scrubbed their floors. She washed their windows until her arms ached. She did it all without complaint because she had a baby coming and that baby needed to eat. "Make sure you finish everything before evening," Mrs. Carter would say without looking at her. "And don't touch anything in my bedroom. I'll know if you do." "Yes, ma'am," Destiny always answered. She learned quickly that wealthy people didn't see their help as human. She was invisible to them, a tool, something to use and forget. But Destiny didn't let it break her. Every night, she would lie on that mildew-smelling mattress, put her hands on her growing belly, and whisper to her baby. "It's just you and me now, little one. But I promise you, I'm gonna give you a better life than this. You're gonna grow up strong. You're gonna be successful. And nobody is ever gonna make you feel as small as they make me feel. I promise." The baby couldn't hear her. The baby couldn't understand. But Destiny needed to say it anyway. She needed to believe it. Because some days, belief was all she had. On a freezing night in February, Destiny's water broke. She was alone in her basement room. The pain hit her like a truck, and she screamed so loud that her landlady came running down the stairs. "Child, what's wrong with you, oh Lord? Oh Lord, that baby's coming." They barely made it to Grady Hospital in time. The delivery was long and brutal. Destiny had no one to hold her hand, no one to tell her she was doing a good job, just strangers in scrubs and a pain that felt like it would split her in two. But when it was over, when she heard that first cry, every ounce of suffering disappeared. A nurse placed a tiny, wrinkled, perfect baby boy in her arms. Destiny looked down at him, and tears streamed down her face. "It's a boy," the nurse said gently. "A healthy baby boy." Destiny couldn't speak. She just held him close, feeling his warmth against her chest, listening to his tiny breaths. "Xavier," she finally whispered. "Your name is Xavier." It meant new house in some old language she'd read about once. A new beginning, a fresh start. "Xavier Williams," she said again, kissing his forehead. "It's just you and me, baby, just you and me." And in that moment, despite everything, the betrayal, the abandonment, the shame, the struggle, Destiny felt something she hadn't felt in months. Hope. The years that followed were a blur of exhaustion and sacrifice. Destiny worked multiple jobs. She cleaned houses during the day, sold fruit and vegetables at the market on weekends, and took in laundry when she could find customers. Some nights, she only slept 3 or 4 hours. But she never complained, not once. Because everything she did was for Xavier. When he was hungry, she made sure he ate, even if it meant she went to bed with an empty stomach. When he needed new shoes, she walked around in worn-out ones until the soles had holes. When he wanted to know why he didn't have a daddy like other kids, she held him close and told him the truth as gently as she could. "You do have a father, baby," she said when Xavier was 7 years old. "But he isn't with us. He left a long time ago, even before you were born." "Why did he leave us?" Xavier's big brown eyes were full of questions. Destiny took a deep breath. "When I found out I was going to have you, I told your father. His name was Derek. I thought he would be happy, but he wasn't. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, and he wanted nothing to do with us." Xavier was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "He didn't want me." The pain in his voice nearly broke Destiny's heart. "Listen to me, Xavier." She cupped his face in her hands. "His choice had nothing to do with you. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You are smart and kind and wonderful, and if he couldn't see that, that's his loss. Not yours, never yours." Xavier nodded slowly, then he hugged her tight. "It's okay, Mama," he said. "You're the best parent I could ever have. I don't need him." From that day forward, Xavier never asked about Derek again. Destiny watched her son grow like a flower pushing through concrete. Xavier was brilliant. There was no other word for it. He taught himself to read by age 4. By 10, he was doing math problems that made his teacher's head spin. By 15, he had built his first computer program in the school's technology lab. "Mrs. Williams," his high school counselor said during a meeting, "your son is exceptional. With the right opportunities, he could go very far." Destiny nodded. "He will, whatever it takes, he will." And she meant it. She worked extra shifts to pay for his college applications. She begged, borrowed, and sold everything she didn't need to make sure he had what he needed to succeed. When Xavier got a full scholarship to Georgia Tech, Destiny cried tears of joy for 3 days straight. "You did it, baby," she kept saying. "You did it." "We did it, Mama," Xavier corrected her. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." At Georgia Tech, Xavier discovered his true passion, technology. He threw himself into his studies like a man possessed. He built apps, designed systems, and dreamed of changing the world. And he did. By 23 years old, Xavier Williams had founded Apex Digital Solutions, a tech company that revolutionized how small businesses handled payments. Within 2 years, the company was worth $50 million. Within 5 years, it was worth $500 million. Xavier Williams had become a billionaire. And through it all, he never forgot where he came from. He bought his mother a beautiful house in a nice neighborhood, but she refused to move in. "I like my little place," Destiny always said. "It has character." What she meant was, she'd earned that little place with her own 2 hands, and no amount of money could make her forget the years she'd spent building a life from nothing. Xavier understood. He loved his mother more than anything in the world. But love doesn't protect you from everything, especially when it comes to matters of the heart. Her name was Vanessa Monroe. The first time Xavier saw her, she took his breath away. She walked into the charity gala like she owned the room, tall, elegant, with skin like dark chocolate and a smile that could sell ice to an Eskimo. She was a fashion designer with her own boutique and a social media following of 200,000 people. She was beautiful, sophisticated, and ambitious. Everything Xavier thought he wanted in a woman. "There's someone I've been seeing, Mama," Xavier told Destiny during their weekly dinner. "Her name is Vanessa. I think she might be the one." Destiny set down her fork. "The one? Xavier, you've never mentioned her before." "She's been busy with work. Her schedule is packed, but I promise you'll meet her soon." Destiny studied her son's face. He looked like a lovesick puppy, all shiny eyes and foolish smiles. It worried her. "My son has suffered too much to marry wrong," she said carefully. "I don't want to judge her before I meet her, but beauty and sophistication, those aren't enough. I need to see her heart." Xavier waved his hand dismissively. "Mama, you worry too much. Vanessa is wonderful, you'll see." But Destiny couldn't shake the feeling in her gut. The same gut that had warned her about Derek all those years ago. Something wasn't right. 2 months later, Xavier came to Destiny's house with a ring box in his pocket and a smile that stretched from ear to ear. "She said yes, Mama. Vanessa and I are engaged." Destiny hugged her son and congratulated him, but behind her smile, her heart was heavy with dread. She needed to meet this woman. She needed to see for herself what kind of person her son was planning to marry. That night, after Xavier left, Destiny sat alone in her small house, thinking. She had built a life from nothing. She had raised a brilliant son against all odds. She had survived abandonment, shame, poverty, and more struggles than most people could imagine. And now, after everything, she was supposed to watch her son marry a woman who might be using him. A woman who might see him as nothing more than a golden ticket. No. Destiny hadn't come this far to let her son make the same mistake she'd made 23 years ago. She needed a plan. She needed to see Vanessa's true character before it was too late. And slowly, as the night grew darker and the house grew quieter, a plan began to form in Destiny's mind. A test. A simple but brilliant test that would reveal exactly who Vanessa Monroe really was. Destiny picked up her phone and called Xavier. "Baby, I need to talk to you about something. Can you come over tomorrow? It's important." "Is everything okay, Mama?" "Everything is fine. I have an idea, something I need to discuss with you." "Okay, Mama, I'll be there." Destiny hung up and stared at the wall for a long moment. How a person treats those they think are beneath them, she whispered to herself, reveals their true character. It was a truth she'd learned through years of scrubbing floors and washing dishes for people who never bothered to learn her name. And now, that truth was about to save her son's life. The next morning, Xavier arrived at his mother's house with coffee and concern in his eyes. "Mama, what's going on? You sounded strange on the phone." Destiny gestured for him to sit down. "Xavier, I need you to listen to me. Really listen. Can you do that?" Xavier nodded, his brow furrowed. "Of course, Mama." Destiny took a deep breath. "I know you love Vanessa. I know you think she's the one. But marriage isn't just about love. It's about character, about kindness, about how someone treats people when they think nobody important is watching." "Mama, Vanessa is kind." "You don't know that," Destiny interrupted gently. "You've only seen how she treats you. You've only seen her best behavior. But how does she treat the waiter who brings her food, the driver who takes her places, the cleaning lady who scrubs her floors?" Xavier opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't have an answer. "I want to propose something," Destiny continued. "A test. A test. I want to move into your mansion, but not as your mother, as your maid." Xavier's eyes went wide. "Mama, are you crazy?" "Hear me out. If Vanessa thinks I'm just the help, just some poor old woman hired to clean, I'll see her true character. How she treats me when she thinks I'm powerless will tell me everything I need to know about who she really is." "Mama, this is insane. I can't let you." "Xavier," Destiny's voice was firm, You are my only son. I raised you by myself. I scrubbed toilets and sold vegetables in the rain so you could go to school. I have given you everything I have. Now I'm asking you to trust me. If Vanessa passes this test, I will welcome her with open arms. I will love her like a daughter. But if she fails..." Xavier was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said, "You really think this is necessary?" "I do." Another pause, then Xavier nodded slowly. "Okay, Mama, I trust you. We'll do it your way." Destiny smiled. "Good, now let's discuss the details. From this moment on, my name is Helen, Miss Helen, and I'm your new housekeeper." Xavier shook his head in disbelief. "Mama, the things I do for you." "The things you do for yourself," Destiny corrected, "because what we're about to do might just save your life." Little did either of them know how right she was. Because Vanessa Monroe wasn't just rude, she wasn't just unkind. She was hiding secrets that would have destroyed Xavier completely. And those secrets were about to come to light. The question is, will Destiny be able to stop Vanessa before it's too late? You'll have to wait to find out. About real strength, about mother who sacrifice everything for their children, about the dangers of judging people by their surface, and about the kind of love that money can't buy. The moment Vanessa Monroe stepped through the front doors of Xavier's mansion, Destiny knew her instincts had been right. It wasn't anything obvious. Not at first. It was the little things, the way Vanessa's eyes swept over the marble floors and crystal chandeliers like she was calculating their worth. The way her fingers brushed against the silk curtains like she was already imagining herself as the lady of this house. The way she smiled at Xavier with her mouth, but not her eyes. Destiny saw it all from her position near the kitchen doorway, dressed in a simple gray uniform with her hair pulled back in a modest bun. She looked nothing like the proud mother who had raised a billionaire. She looked exactly like what she was pretending to be, an invisible servant. "Baby, this place is absolutely stunning," Vanessa gushed, wrapping her arms around Xavier's neck. "I can't believe I get to live here with you." Xavier smiled and kissed her forehead. "Only the best for my future wife." "Speaking of which," Vanessa glanced around the foyer, "where's the staff? I have about 12 bags in the car, and these heels were not made for carrying luggage." Xavier gestured toward Destiny. "This is Miss Helen. She's the new housekeeper. She'll help you get settled." Vanessa's eyes landed on Destiny for exactly half a second. She didn't smile. She didn't nod. She just looked through her like she was a piece of furniture. "Make sure you're careful with the Louis Vuitton," Vanessa said, without bothering to address Destiny directly. "It costs more than you probably make in a year." Destiny felt the sting of those words, but she kept her face neutral. "Yes, ma'am. I'll be very careful." She walked past Vanessa toward the front door, catching Xavier's eye as she passed. His jaw was tight. He'd heard what Vanessa said, and from the look on his face, he didn't like it one bit. Good, Destiny thought. Let him see. Let him see who this woman really is. The first week was uncomfortable, but manageable. Vanessa mostly ignored Destiny, treating her like part of the furniture. She would snap her fingers when she wanted something instead of using words. She would leave her clothes on the floor instead of putting them in the hamper. She would track mud through the hallways and then complain when Destiny didn't clean it up fast enough. But she wasn't cruel, not yet. That changed on day 8. Destiny was dusting the living room when Vanessa came downstairs in a silk robe, her face twisted with irritation. "Helen, Helen." Destiny turned calmly. "Yes, ma'am." "What is this?" Vanessa held up a coffee mug. There was a small lipstick stain on the rim. "That's your coffee mug, ma'am. I washed it this morning." "Then why is there still lipstick on it?" Vanessa's voice rose. "Are you blind? Are you stupid? Or are you just lazy?" Destiny felt her blood pressure rise, but she kept her voice steady. "I apologize, ma'am. I must have missed it. Let me wash it again." "No." Vanessa thrust the mug into Destiny's hands so hard that coffee splashed onto her uniform. "You'll wash all the dishes again, every single one, and this time, try using your eyes." Destiny looked down at the brown stain spreading across her gray dress. Then she looked up at Vanessa, who was smirking like she'd just won some kind of victory. "Yes, ma'am," Destiny said quietly. "I'll wash them all again." She turned and walked toward the kitchen, her hands trembling, not with fear, but with rage she couldn't show. This girl, she thought, this evil, wicked girl. But she kept walking. She kept her head down, because the test wasn't over yet. From his home office upstairs, Xavier watched the security camera footage on his laptop. He saw everything. He saw Vanessa throw the mug. He saw the coffee splash on his mother's dress. He saw his mother's trembling hands and bowed head as she walked away. Xavier's fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. It took every ounce of self-control he had not to storm downstairs and end the engagement right then and there. But his mother had made him promise. She wanted to see the full picture. She wanted to be absolutely certain before they made any moves. So Xavier sat there, watching, waiting, and hating every second of it. "Mama," he whispered to the screen, "I'm so sorry." The abuse escalated. Every day, Vanessa found something new to criticize. The floors weren't shiny enough. The windows had streaks. The towels weren't folded correctly. The food was too cold, too hot, too bland, too spicy. Nothing Destiny did was ever good enough. "Old woman, can't you move any faster?" Vanessa snapped one afternoon as Destiny slowly climbed the stairs with an armful of fresh linens. "You move like a turtle. It's pathetic." "I'm sorry, ma'am. My knees aren't what they used to be." "I don't care about your knees. I care about getting things done. Now hurry up before I lose my patience." Destiny climbed faster, ignoring the pain shooting through her joints. Another day, Vanessa caught Destiny resting for a moment in the kitchen, drinking a glass of water. "Excuse me, did I say you could take a break?" Vanessa snatched the glass from Destiny's hand and poured the water into the sink. "You're here to work, not to sit around like you own the place. Get back to it." Destiny said nothing. She just nodded and returned to scrubbing the counters. But the worst moment, the one that nearly broke Destiny's heart, came on a Thursday afternoon. Vanessa was on the phone with someone, laughing loudly in the living room. Destiny was nearby, pretending to dust while listening carefully. "Girl, you should see this maid Xavier hired," Vanessa said into the phone. "She's like 100 years old and moves like she's already dead. I don't know why he doesn't just fire her and get someone younger." A pause, then Vanessa laughed again. "I know, right? These poor people are so desperate. They'll take any kind of treatment just to keep their little paychecks. It's actually kind of sad." Destiny's hand tightened around the duster. "Anyway," Vanessa continued, "I can't wait until after the wedding. Then I'll really be in charge around here. First thing I'm doing is getting rid of that old woman. She creeps me out." Another laugh. Then Vanessa lowered her voice, but Destiny's ears were sharp. "And have you seen Xavier's mother? He showed me a picture once. Some country-looking woman who apparently raised him all by herself. I bet she's going to be so annoying at family gatherings. But don't worry. Once I'm Mrs. Williams, I'll make sure she stays in her lane." Destiny stopped breathing. This woman, this horrible, scheming woman, was planning to cut her out of her son's life, and Xavier had no idea. But Destiny kept her composure. She kept dusting. She kept waiting. Because she knew the truth would come out eventually. And when it did, Vanessa Monroe would regret every single word she'd ever spoken. Now here's where things get really interesting. Because while all of this was happening, another woman was about to enter the picture, a woman who would change everything. Her name was Harmony Jackson. Now let me tell you about Harmony. Harmony Jackson was 26 years old, and by all outward appearances, completely ordinary. She wasn't stunning like Vanessa. She didn't wear designer clothes or carry expensive bags. She didn't have a huge social media following or a glamorous career. What Harmony had was something far more valuable, a good heart. She worked as a secretary at Apex Digital Solutions, Xavier's company. She'd been there for 3 years, and in all that time, she had never once been late, never once complained, and never once asked for anything she didn't earn. She was the one who remembered everyone's birthdays, the one who stayed late to help coworkers finish projects, the one who always had a kind word when someone was having a bad day. And she had a secret she'd never told anyone. She was in love with Xavier Williams. Not because he was rich. She'd fallen for him long before she knew about his money, back when he was just a driven young tech guy with big dreams and bigger determination. She loved the way he treated people with respect, regardless of their position. She loved his dedication to his mother. She loved his quiet strength. But Harmony never said a word. Because what could someone like her offer a man like him? She was just a secretary. He was a billionaire. He was surrounded by beautiful, accomplished women who matched his status. So Harmony loved him in silence. She did her job excellently, she admired him from afar, and she told herself that some things weren't meant to be. Little did she know that fate had other plans. It happened on a Tuesday evening. Destiny was walking home from the grocery store near the mansion. She sometimes went there to clear her head and escape Vanessa's cruelty for an hour or two. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The neighborhood was quiet, too quiet. Destiny was about to turn onto a side street when two men stepped out from behind a parked van. They were young, maybe early 20s, with hard eyes and desperate faces. One of them had a knife. "Give us the bag, old lady," the one with the knife said, "and don't even think about screaming." Destiny's heart hammered in her chest. Her hands shook as she clutched her grocery bag. "Please," she whispered. "I don't have anything valuable, just some vegetables and—" "I said give it." The man stepped closer, raising the knife. Destiny closed her eyes, preparing for the worst. And then she heard a voice. "Hey, leave her alone." Destiny's eyes flew open. A young woman was running toward them, a woman in simple jeans and a work blouse, with natural hair and fire in her eyes. She looked small compared to the two men, but she didn't seem afraid. "This is none of your business," the man with the knife growled. "Keep walking." "It is my business when you're attacking a defenseless woman." The young woman pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police right now. You have exactly 5 seconds to disappear before I start screaming so loud this whole neighborhood comes running." The two men looked at each other. They looked at the phone in the woman's hand. They looked at the determination on her face. And then they ran. Destiny slumped against the nearest wall, her whole body trembling. The young woman rushed to her side. "Ma'am, are you okay? Did they hurt you?" Destiny shook her head, still trying to catch her breath. No, I'm fine. You saved me." "I just did what anyone would do." The young woman smiled warmly. "My name is Harmony. Let me walk you home. These streets aren't safe after dark." Destiny looked at this young woman, this stranger who had just risked her own safety to help someone she didn't even know. "Thank you, child," Destiny whispered. "Thank you so much." As they walked together, Destiny asked Harmony about herself, where she worked, where she lived, what kind of person she was. And with every answer, Destiny's heart grew fuller. This girl had nothing to gain from helping me, she thought. She didn't know who I was. She just saw someone in trouble and acted. By the time they reached the mansion's neighborhood, Destiny had made a decision. This was the kind of woman her son deserved. Not Vanessa Monroe with her cruelty and her schemes. Harmony Jackson with her bravery and her kindness. 2 days later, Xavier needed an important file from the office. He called his assistant to have someone bring it over, and the task fell to Harmony. She drove to the mansion with the file in her passenger seat, her heart doing little flips in her chest. She had never been to Xavier's home before. She wasn't sure what to expect. When she rang the doorbell, it wasn't Xavier who answered. It was Destiny. Both women froze. "It's you," Harmony breathed. "The woman from the other night. You work here." Destiny smiled. "Yes, my dear. I was recently hired as the housekeeper." "I had no idea." Harmony looked around the grand foyer with wide eyes. "When you said you worked in a big house, you weren't kidding." Before they could say anything else, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Helen, who's at the door?" Vanessa appeared at the top of the staircase, wearing a silk robe and an expression of pure irritation. "This young lady is from Mr. Williams's office," Destiny explained. "She's delivering an important file." Vanessa's eyes swept over Harmony, taking in her simple clothes, her natural hair, her lack of jewelry, and dismissed her immediately. "Fine, give her the file and send her away. I don't want strangers lingering in my house." Something in Harmony bristled. "Your house," she thought, "you're not even married yet." But she kept her thoughts to herself. She was about to take the file and leave when she noticed Destiny wince. The older woman was rubbing her back like it was hurting her. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Harmony asked with genuine concern. Destiny nodded. "Just my old bones acting up, nothing to worry about." "Helen," Vanessa's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Stop chatting and go finish the laundry. I don't pay you to socialize." Harmony's eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me, miss, but don't you think you're being a bit harsh? She wasn't doing anything wrong." Vanessa's head snapped toward Harmony like a cobra spotting prey. "And who are you to tell me how to talk to my staff?" "I'm someone who believes in treating people with respect," Harmony replied calmly, "no matter their position." The air in the foyer crackled with tension. Destiny held her breath. Vanessa descended the stairs slowly, her eyes never leaving Harmony's face. "Listen here, little Miss Secretary." Vanessa's voice was low and dangerous. "You don't know anything about how things work in this house. This woman is paid to do her job, and if she can't handle being corrected, she can leave. And so can you." Harmony didn't back down. "Correcting someone and disrespecting them are two different things. Maybe you should learn the difference." Vanessa's face twisted with fury. "Get out of my house, now." "Gladly." Harmony turned to Destiny and pressed a small piece of paper into her hand. "Ma'am, if you ever need anything, if you ever want to leave this place, please call me. No one deserves to be treated like this." Then she walked out the door with her head held high. Destiny looked down at the paper in her hand. It was Harmony's phone number. This girl, she thought with tears building in her eyes. This brave, wonderful girl. Vanessa was still fuming by the door. "Can you believe the nerve of that woman, coming into my house and talking to me like that?" She stormed off without another word, leaving Destiny alone in the foyer. But Destiny wasn't sad anymore. She was hopeful, because now she knew exactly who her son should be with. That night, Destiny found Xavier in his study. "You've been watching the cameras?" she asked quietly. Xavier nodded. His face was tight with suppressed anger. "I saw what happened with Harmony. I saw how Vanessa treated you." Destiny sat down across from him. "There's something you need to know about Harmony." "What?" "She saved my life. A few days ago, I was walking home and two men tried to rob me. Harmony appeared out of nowhere and scared them off. She didn't know who I was. She just saw someone in trouble and acted." Xavier was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "And today," Destiny continued, "when Vanessa was berating me, Harmony stood up for me. She didn't gain anything from it. She actually risked making Vanessa angry, but she did it anyway." "Why are you telling me this, Mama?" Destiny reached across the desk and took her son's hand. "Because I've seen enough, Xavier. Vanessa shows me her true face every day when she thinks you're not watching. She's cruel, she's heartless, and she doesn't have an ounce of genuine kindness in her. But Harmony, this girl has nothing, yet she gives freely. She defends the powerless. She acts with integrity when nobody is watching." Xavier squeezed his mother's hand. "I'm starting to see it, Mama, but I need more proof. I need to know for certain before I make any decisions." "Then keep watching," Destiny said. "Keep your eyes open, because I have a feeling the worst is yet to come. Now I need to stop here and ask you something important. Are you understanding why this test was so necessary? Are you seeing how Vanessa fooled Xavier with her beauty and sophistication while hiding her rotten heart? If this story is hitting different for you, if you know someone who's been fooled by a pretty face and smooth words, share this video with them. Sometimes people need to see the warning signs before they make the biggest mistake of their lives. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because what happens next is about to turn this entire story upside down. 3 weeks into the test, something changed. Vanessa had been on her phone constantly. She would disappear into the bedroom, lock the door, and have long conversations that she never mentioned to Xavier. At first, Destiny didn't think much of it. Vanessa was a businesswoman. She probably had clients to manage and deals to close. But then Destiny noticed something else. Vanessa was sick in the mornings. Not just a little queasy, violently ill. She would rush to the bathroom every morning around 8 a.m. and emerge 20 minutes later looking pale and shaky. And she was eating differently. More food, stranger combinations, pickles with ice cream, crackers at midnight. Destiny knew those signs. She had experienced them herself 23 years ago. Vanessa Monroe was pregnant. But that didn't make sense. Xavier had told his mother, somewhat awkwardly, that he and Vanessa hadn't been intimate. He was old-fashioned that way, wanting to wait until marriage out of respect for both of them. "It's what you taught me, Mama," he had said. "Some things are worth waiting for." So if Xavier wasn't the father, Destiny's blood ran cold. She needed to know more. She needed to find out exactly what Vanessa was hiding. And she got her answer sooner than she expected. It was a Thursday afternoon. Vanessa was in the master bedroom on one of her long phone calls. She thought she had locked the door, but the lock was old and sometimes didn't catch properly. Destiny was dusting in the hallway when she realized she had left her cleaning supplies in the bedroom earlier. Without thinking, she pushed the door open. And froze. Vanessa was packing by the window, phone pressed to her ear, her back to the door. "I can't tell Xavier because we've never been intimate. He's been so focused on respecting me and waiting until marriage. Can you believe that? In this day and age?" Destiny stopped breathing. She should have backed out of the room. She should have closed the door quietly and pretended she heard nothing. But her feet wouldn't move. "I know, girl," Vanessa continued, laughing. "But here's the problem. I'm pregnant, and it's definitely not his. So I need to make something happen before he figures out the timeline." Destiny's hand flew to her mouth. "What do you mean, what am I going to do?" Vanessa's voice dropped to a conspiratorial tone. "I'm going to put something in his drink, get him in the mood, make it happen, and then in a few weeks I'll discover I'm pregnant. He'll never know the difference." No. Destiny's whole body trembled with rage and horror. "Look, I can't lose Xavier," Vanessa said firmly. "He's my golden ticket. Do you know how much this man is worth? I'm not letting some silly little detail like another man's baby ruin my future. I'll do what I have to do." A pause, then another laugh. "Tonight, I'll do it tonight. He's been working late, so he'll come home exhausted. I'll offer him a drink to help him relax and, well, you know the rest." Destiny finally unfroze. She backed out of the room silently, her heart pounding so hard she could barely think. Tonight. Vanessa was planning to drug her son tonight. Destiny had to stop her. But how? If she confronted Vanessa directly, the woman would deny everything. She might even convince Xavier that his mother was lying, trying to sabotage their relationship. No, Destiny needed proof. She needed Xavier to see for himself. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to Xavier. "Come home early tonight. Watch the cameras. Don't let her know you're watching. Trust me." Then she went back to her duties, counting down the hours until evening. Xavier came home at 7 p.m., complaining loudly about work stress, so Vanessa wouldn't suspect anything. Destiny watched from the kitchen as Vanessa practically floated down the stairs in a silk dress, her smile sweet as poisoned honey. "Baby, you look exhausted," Vanessa cooed. "Let me make you something to relax, a nice drink." "That sounds perfect," Xavier said, settling onto the couch. From his hidden vantage point, a small camera he was watching on his phone, Xavier saw everything. He saw Vanessa go to the bar. He saw her pour whiskey into a glass, and he saw her pull a small vial from her pocket and empty its contents into his drink. His blood turned to ice. Vanessa carried the drink back to Xavier with a smile that made his stomach turn. "Here you go, baby. This will help you unwind." Xavier took the glass. He raised it to his lips. And then Destiny burst into the room. "Stop." Both Xavier and Vanessa jumped. Vanessa's face went pale. "Helen, what do you think you're doing?" Vanessa demanded. "This is a private moment." "It is my business," Destiny said firmly, walking toward them. "It is my business because I know exactly what you put in that glass." Vanessa's eyes went wide. What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean. This old woman is crazy, Xavier. She's been acting strange ever since." "I heard everything, Vanessa." Vanessa's mouth snapped shut. Destiny looked at her son. "I heard her on the phone today. She's pregnant, Xavier, but it's not your child. And she was planning to drug you tonight so she could make you think it was." The room went completely silent. Xavier slowly set down the glass. His eyes moved from Destiny to Vanessa, and the look on his face could have frozen fire. "Is this true?" Vanessa's composure cracked. Tears started streaming down her face. Fake tears, Destiny knew, but tears nonetheless. "Baby, I can explain." "Is this true?" "It's not what it sounds like. I was just joking with my friend. You know how women talk sometimes." "Play it." Xavier pulled up the security footage on the living room TV. And there it was, in crystal clear high definition, Vanessa pouring something from a vial into his drink. The room fell silent again. Vanessa's face cycled through 5 different expressions in 3 seconds. Shock, fear, desperation, anger, and finally, resignation. "Xavier, please." "You were going to drug me." Xavier's voice was low and deadly. "You were going to make me think I fathered another man's child. You were going to trap me in a marriage built on lies." "I love you. I did this because I was scared of losing you." "You don't even know what love is." Xavier stood up. "Pack your things, get out of my house, and don't ever contact me again." "Xavier, please, I can chain." "Miss Helen," Xavier turned to Destiny, "please call security." And just like that, it was over. Security escorted Vanessa Monroe out of the mansion at 9:47 p.m. She screamed and cried and begged the entire way, but nobody listened. Destiny watched the woman who had tormented her for weeks disappear into the night, and she felt no satisfaction. Only relief. After Vanessa was gone, Xavier found Destiny in the kitchen. "Mama." He walked up to her and wrapped his arms around her in a hug so tight she could barely breathe. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything she put you through." Destiny hugged him back, tears streaming down her face. "I would do it 1,000 times over if it meant protecting you." They stood there for a long moment, mother and son, holding each other in the silence of the empty mansion. Finally, Xavier pulled back. "She almost got me, Mama, if you hadn't been here." "But I was here." Destiny cupped his face in her hands. "I will always be here." Xavier nodded slowly, then a thought crossed his face. "Harmony, the woman who saved you, the one who stood up to Vanessa." He paused. "You think she's different." Destiny smiled. "I know she's different, but you don't have to take my word for it. You can find out for yourself." Xavier looked thoughtful. "Maybe I will." "Just," Destiny hesitated. "If you test her, be careful. Don't play with her heart the way Vanessa played with yours." "I promise, Mama. Whatever I do, I'll be honest with her in the end." But was Xavier really prepared for what would come next? Testing Harmony would reveal truths that nobody expected. It would push both of them to their limits. And it would finally answer the question that haunts everyone who's ever been in love. How do you know if someone loves you, or just what you can give them? Let me know in the comment. I know you're invested now. I can feel it. You've watched Destiny survive the impossible. You've watched Vanessa fall from grace. And now you're wondering, will Harmony be different? Will Xavier finally find real love? There's only one way to find out. Keep watching. Remember, a person's true character is revealed not by how they treat the powerful, but by how they treat those who can do nothing for them. 6 weeks. That's how long it had been since Vanessa Monroe was escorted out of Xavier Williams's mansion in tears and disgrace. 6 weeks since the woman who had called him her golden ticket was exposed for the lying, scheming, heartless person she truly was. And in those 6 weeks, Xavier had changed. He was quieter now, more cautious. He smiled less and thought more. The confidence that had carried him from poverty to billions now felt cracked, like a windshield hit by a rock, still holding together but covered in fractures that made everything look distorted. Destiny noticed it. Of course she did. A mother always notices. "You haven't been sleeping," she said to him one morning over breakfast at her small house. She had gone back to her own place after the test, refusing once again to live in the mansion. "I can see the bags under your eyes from across the table." Xavier stirred his coffee without drinking it. "I keep replaying everything in my head, Mama, every conversation, every moment, looking for signs I missed." And they were everywhere. He let out a bitter laugh. "She told me exactly who she was from the beginning. I just didn't want to see it because she was beautiful and she said the right things." Destiny reached across the table and placed her hand over his. "Don't punish yourself for trusting someone. The fault lies with the person who broke the trust, not the one who gave it." Xavier nodded slowly, but Destiny could see the doubt still living in his eyes. "How do I ever trust anyone again, Mama? How do I know the next woman isn't just a better version of Vanessa, someone who learned to hide her intentions more carefully?" Destiny was quiet for a moment. She picked up her coffee cup, took a long sip, and set it back down. "You remember what I told you about Harmony?" Xavier looked up. "The woman who saved you from those muggers, the one who stood up to Vanessa." "That's the one. Xavier, that girl defended me twice without knowing who I was. She offered me her phone number in case I needed help. She was willing to anger Vanessa, the fiancée of her boss, just to protect someone she thought was a helpless old maid." "I know, Mama. You've told me." "Then listen to what I'm really saying." Destiny leaned forward. "I've been watching people my whole life. When you're invisible, when people think you're just the help, you see who they really are. And what I see in Harmony is something rare, something genuine." Xavier stared at his untouched coffee. "You think I should pursue her?" "I think you should give her a chance, but I also think you should be smart about it." "Smart how?" Destiny hesitated. She knew what she was about to suggest was risky. It could backfire. It could hurt someone who didn't deserve to be hurt, but her son had been burned badly, and she understood his need for certainty. "If you really want to know someone's heart," she said carefully, "take away the thing that attracts the wrong people. Take away the money, take away the mansion, take away the status, and see who's still standing beside you when there's nothing left." Xavier's eyes widened slowly as he understood what she was suggesting. "You want me to pretend I've lost everything. I want you to see who stays when there's nothing to gain from staying." Xavier was silent for a long time. The kitchen clock ticked away the seconds. Outside, a bird sang a song that sounded almost too cheerful for the heaviness of the moment. Finally, he spoke. "But Harmony has already shown kindness, Mama. She's already proven herself." "To me, yes, but you need to see it for yourself. You need to know, not believe, not hope, not guess, but know with absolute certainty that this woman loves you for who you are. Otherwise, the doubt will eat your marriage alive." Xavier closed his eyes. When he opened them, his mind was made up. "Okay," he said, "I'll do it, but if she passes, Mama, if she passes this test, I'm not letting her go." Destiny smiled. "That's all I want to hear. What happens next is going to test everything you think you know about love. Now, let me tell you how Xavier Williams, a man worth over $500 million, convinced the entire world that he had lost everything." Xavier spent 3 days planning the deception. He called it Operation Reset. First, he planted a story through a financial blog that Apex Digital Solutions was under investigation for fraudulent investments. Within hours, the story spread across social media like wildfire. Then he made some carefully staged phone calls, ones he knew would be overheard by staff and colleagues. Calls where he sounded panicked, desperate, and afraid. The accounts are frozen. I can't access anything. The investigators are saying the losses could be in the hundreds of millions. He sold his fancy cars and replaced them with a 10-year-old Honda Civic. He moved out of the mansion and into a modest one-bedroom apartment in a working-class neighborhood across town. He told his employees that the company was shutting down effective immediately. "I'm sorry," Xavier said to the gathered staff in the Apex Digital conference room, his voice heavy with manufactured grief. "I've made terrible investment decisions, and the company can no longer sustain itself. I've lost everything, my savings, the company funds, all of it. I can't keep any of you employed. Please forgive me." The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Xavier's eyes found Harmony in the back of the room. She was sitting very still, her hands folded in her lap, her face unreadable. But her eyes, those soft, warm brown eyes, were glistening with tears. Not tears of anger, not tears of self-pity about losing her job. Tears of empathy, for him. Xavier almost broke character right there. After the announcement, the mass exodus began. And it happened faster than Xavier could have imagined. His phone, which used to ring 40 times a day with invitations, opportunities, and just checking in calls from friends, went silent within 72 hours. The first to disappear was Terrence Crawford, Xavier's so-called best friend. Xavier had known Terrence since college. They had been roommates at Georgia Tech. Terrence had been the best man at what would have been Xavier's wedding to Vanessa. Xavier had loaned Terrence money at least 5 different times, money that was never paid back. "Terrence, I need your advice," Xavier said on the phone. "Everything is falling apart. I don't know where to start rebuilding." There was a long pause on the other end. "Man, I'm sorry to hear that," Terrence said finally. His voice was flat, distant, like he was reading from a script. "But I'm dealing with my own stuff right now. Maybe it's best if we, give each other some space for a while." Xavier gripped the phone tighter. "Space? Terrence, I've bylaid you out of trouble more times than I can count. I paid your rent when you got fired. I co-signed your car loan, and now you need space. Look, it's not personal, man. I gotta focus on my own situation. You understand, right?" Xavier understood perfectly. He understood that when his bank account had 10 digits, Terrence was his brother. And now that it appeared to have none, Terrence was a stranger. "Yeah," Xavier said quietly, "I understand." He hung up and sat in his small apartment, staring at the bare walls. Terrence was just the beginning. Over the next 2 weeks, Xavier's social circle evaporated like morning dew. Business partners who used to fight for his attention suddenly couldn't return his calls. Society friends who had clinked champagne glasses with him at galas pretended not to recognize him on the street. Even distant relatives who only showed up at family reunions to ask for money vanished without a trace. One by one, they all proved what destiny had always suspected. They didn't love Xavier. They loved what Xavier could give them. And when the giving stopped, so did they. But not Harmony. 3 days after the company collapsed, there was a knock on Xavier's apartment door. He opened it to find Harmony Jackson standing there with 2 grocery bags and a worried expression. "Hey," she said softly, "I brought you some food." Xavier stared at her. She was wearing a simple dress and flat shoes. No makeup, hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked like she'd come straight from running errands. "Harmony, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to." She walked past him into the tiny apartment, set the bags on the counter, and started unpacking. Rice, chicken, vegetables, bread, eggs, juice. Xavier watched her move around his cramped kitchen like she belonged there. "This place is small," she said, glancing around, "but it's peaceful. You can start over here." "How can you say that? I've lost everything." Harmony stopped unpacking and looked at him, really looked at him. "You haven't lost everything, Xavier. You've lost money. You've lost a company. But you haven't lost your mind. You haven't lost your ability. And you haven't lost the people who actually care about you. Everyone left Harmony. Every single person I thought was my friend, gone. I'm still here. 3 words, simple, quiet, but they hit Xavier harder than any speech, any sermon, any motivational quote he'd ever heard. I'm still here. Why? He asked. His voice cracked and he hated himself for it. Why are you still here? Harmony set down the bag of rice and turned to face him fully. Because you're not your money, Xavier. You're the man who built something incredible from nothing. You're the man who always says good morning to the security guard when every other executive walks right past him. You're the man who stayed 2 hours late to help me fix a presentation when you could have just had someone else do it. That's who you are. And money doesn't change that. Xavier's throat tightened. He turned away because he didn't want her to see the emotion on his face. Eat while the food is still warm, Harmony said gently behind him. And don't argue with me. I'll come back tomorrow to check on you. She was gone before he could respond. Xavier stood alone in his kitchen, surrounded by grocery bags full of food bought by a woman who had just lost her own job because of him. She's spending money she doesn't have, he realized, to feed a man she thinks has nothing. He sat down at his tiny kitchen table and cried for the first time in years. Harmony came back the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. She came with food, she came with encouragement, she came with practical advice. You can start small, she told him one evening, sitting cross-legged on his living room floor because he only had one chair. Offer consulting services. You know more about payment systems than almost anyone in the country. Companies would pay good money for that knowledge. Who's going to hire a failed CEO? You didn't fail. The investments failed. There's a difference, and the right people will see that. Another evening, she showed up with a suit she'd found at a thrift store. I know it's not what you're used to, she said apologetically, but if you have meetings, you need to look the part. I picked the best one I could find. Xavier held up the suit. It was slightly too big in the shoulders, and the fabric was nothing like the custom Italian suits hanging in the mansion closet she didn't know still existed. But she had picked it out carefully, matching the jacket to the pants, finding a tie that complemented the color. Harmony, this is. He couldn't finish the sentence. It's just a suit, she said with a small shrug. Don't make it weird. But it wasn't just a suit. It was proof. Proof that this woman saw him, really saw him, even without the money and the status and the designer clothes. On another day, she came by looking more hesitant than usual. She sat at the kitchen table and slid an envelope across to him. What's this? Xavier asked. It's not much, just some money I've been saving. I know things are tight right now, and I thought maybe. Harmony, no. Xavier pushed the envelope back. Absolutely not. You just lost your job. You need this money. I'll find another job, she said firmly. You need it more right now. Please, Xavier, let me help. Xavier looked at the envelope. Then he looked at Harmony. Her eyes were sincere. There was no hidden agenda, no calculation, no expectation of repayment. Just pure, selfless generosity. He pushed the envelope back one more time. Keep it, please, but thank you. You have no idea what this means to me. Harmony nodded slowly. Then she smiled, that warm, quiet smile that lit up her whole face. I just want you to be okay, she said. That's all I've ever wanted. Later that night, Xavier called Destiny. Mama. My son, how are you? Mama, she brought me groceries again today. She found a suit at a thrift store for me. She offered me her savings, her actual savings, Mama. The money she probably needs for rent. Destiny was quiet on the other end, but Xavier could hear her smiling. She's incredible, Xavier continued. I've never met anyone like her. Everyone else vanished. Terrence, the business partners, the society friends, all gone. But Harmony keeps showing up, every single day, and she doesn't want anything from me. My son is finally seeing clearly, Destiny said softly. I've been such a fool, Mama. I was so busy chasing sophistication and beauty that I almost missed what was right in front of me. Don't be too hard on yourself. The important thing is that your eyes are open now. Xavier paused. Then he said something that made Destiny's heart soar. "I think I'm falling in love with her, Mama." Destiny closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude. 23 years of struggle, 23 years of sacrifice, and finally, her son was seeing what mattered. "Then don't waste another moment, baby. Tell her the truth, all of it." "I will, but first, there's something I need to do." 2 weeks later, Xavier invited Harmony to his apartment for dinner. She arrived expecting the usual, simple food, good conversation, and the quiet comfort of being near the man she loved, but had never dared to tell. What she wasn't expecting was candles. There were candles everywhere, on the kitchen counter, on the windowsill, even on the floor along the hallway. The tiny apartment glowed with soft, warm light. "Xavier, what is all this?" Harmony whispered, her eyes wide. "Sit down, please." She sat at the kitchen table, looking nervous and beautiful. Xavier sat across from her and took her hands in his. "Harmony, there's something I need to tell you, something I've been holding back because I was afraid." "Afraid of what?" "Of being honest, of being vulnerable, of letting someone in after being burned so badly." Harmony squeezed his hands. "You can tell me anything." Xavier took a deep breath. "These past few weeks, you've shown me something I didn't think existed. Real love, selfless love. The kind that doesn't come with conditions or expectations. You've fed me when I was hungry. You've encouraged me when I wanted to give up. You've stayed when literally everyone else in my life walked away." Tears were forming in Harmony's eyes. "I need to know something," Xavier continued. "And please be honest with me." "I will, I promise." "How do you feel about me? Not as your boss, not as a billionaire, not as anything other than the man sitting in front of you right now in this tiny apartment with nothing to his name." Harmony's tears fell freely now. "Xavier, there's something I've never told you, something I've been carrying for 3 years." "What is it?" She looked down at their joined hands, gathering courage. "I fell in love with you the first day I started working at Apex. Not because of your money. I didn't even know how wealthy you were back then. I fell in love with the way you held the elevator door for the janitor when everybody else let it close in his face. I fell in love with the way you learned every employee's name, not just the executives, but everyone. The security guards, the cleaning staff, the interns." She looked up at him with eyes full of tears and truth. "I never said anything because I thought I wasn't good enough. You were surrounded by women like Vanessa, gorgeous, polished, glamorous women. What could a secretary with student loans and a rented apartment offer a man like you?" "Harmony, let me finish, please." She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "When you lost everything, I didn't hesitate for 1 second, not because I'm a saint or a martyr, because the man I love was hurting and I couldn't stand by and do nothing. I don't care about the money, Xavier. I never did. I care about you. The real you, the one sitting across from me right now." Xavier's own eyes were glistening. "I love you," Harmony whispered. "I've loved you for 3 years, and I'll love you whether you live in a mansion or a cardboard box." The room was silent, except for the soft flicker of candlelight. Then Xavier took a deep, shaky breath. "Harmony, I need to tell you something, and you might hate me for it." Fear flickered across her face. "What is it?" "The bankruptcy, the collapse of Apex Digital, losing the mansion, the cars, the money." He paused. "None of it was real." Harmony blinked. "What?" "I faked it, all of it. The company is fine. The money is still there. The mansion is still mine. I staged the entire thing as a test to see who would stay when they thought I had nothing." The silence that followed was the loudest silence Xavier had ever experienced. Harmony slowly pulled her hands away from his. She stared at him with an expression he couldn't read, not anger exactly, but something close to it, something mixed with hurt and disbelief. "You tested me." "Yes." "You lied to me. You made me think you'd lost everything. You let me spend my savings buying you groceries, money I could barely afford, while you sat on $500 million. Harmony, Do you know what I went through these past few weeks?" Her voice cracked. I picked up extra cleaning jobs just to make ends meet because I lost my position at your company. I told my landlord I needed an extension on rent because I was helping you. I chose between buying food for myself and buying food for you, and I chose you. Every single time. Xavier felt like the worst human being on the planet. And the whole time, Harmony continued, her voice breaking, the whole time it was a game to you. It wasn't a game. I swear to you, Harmony, it was never a game. After Vanessa, I didn't know who to trust. I was terrified of making the same mistake. My mother told me that the only way to know someone's true heart is to take away everything and see who stays. And you stayed. You stayed when nobody else did. Harmony was crying openly now. Not the delicate tears from before, real, raw tears that shook her shoulders and stained her cheeks. You hurt me, Xavier. You really hurt me. I know. Xavier's voice was barely a whisper, and I will spend the rest of my life making it right if you let me. How am I supposed to trust you now? How do I know this isn't another test, another lie? Xavier reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Harmony stared at it through her tears. What is that? Xavier opened the box. Inside was a diamond ring, not the massive, ostentatious rock he'd given Vanessa, but something elegant and simple. A ring that said, I see you for who you are. This is my promise, Xavier said. No more tests, no more lies, no more games, just me broken, flawed, terrified, asking the bravest, kindest, most genuine woman I've ever met to be my wife. Harmony looked at the ring, then she looked at Xavier. If you ever test me like this again. I won't, I swear on my mother's life. Because I'm not a puzzle to be solved, Xavier. I'm not a suspect to be investigated. I'm a person who loves you, and love should be built on trust, not tricks. You're right, you're absolutely right, and I'm sorry. From the bottom of my heart, I am so sorry. Harmony was quiet for what felt like an eternity. Then she reached across the table, took the ring box from his hands, and looked at it one more time. It's beautiful, she whispered. Is that a yes? Harmony looked up at him. Her eyes were still wet, but through the tears there was something else, something warm, something that looked like the beginning of a new chapter. Yes, Xavier, but only because I know the real you, the one who scrubs toilets of pride and still comes out human, the one whose mama raised him right even when the world tried to break him. Xavier slid the ring onto her finger with trembling hands. And for the second time that night, they both cried. But this time, they were tears of joy. Now comes the part of this story that ties everything together. And if you've been with me since the beginning, I know you've been waiting for this moment. So let me take you there. The next morning, Xavier drove Harmony to the mansion. She sat in the passenger seat of his car, not the beat-up Honda Civic, but his actual car, a black Mercedes that had been stored in a private garage during the test, with wide eyes and a racing heart. Xavier, where are we going? Home. When the gates of the mansion opened and the sprawling estate came into view, Harmony's jaw dropped. This is yours. This is ours. He parked the car and walked around to open her door. She stepped out slowly, looking up at the mansion like she was seeing a castle for the first time. But there's someone inside who's been waiting to meet you, Xavier said. Someone very important. He led her through the front doors, past the marble foyer, through the grand hallway and into the living room. And there, sitting in a cream-colored armchair with a cup of tea and a smile that could melt glaciers, was Destiny. Not Miss Helen. Destiny Williams, in her own clothes, in her own house, looking every bit the queen she had always been, even when the world tried to make her a servant. Harmony stopped dead in her tracks. Wait, you're... Hello, my dear, Destiny said warmly. I believe we've met before. Harmony's hand flew to her mouth. You're his mother. I am. But you were the maid. Miss Helen, I walked you home. I gave you my phone number. You saved my life, Destiny finished for her. Twice, and you didn't even know who I was. Harmony's legs gave out beneath her. She sank onto the nearest couch, overwhelmed. "The whole time," she whispered, "the whole time you were testing me." "Not testing you, child." Destiny set down her tea and walked over to sit beside Harmony. She took the younger woman's hands in hers, the same hands that had once trembled while cleaning Vanessa's coffee mugs, now steady and sure. "I was watching you. There's a difference. I wanted to see your heart, and what I saw was the most beautiful heart I've ever encountered." Harmony was crying again, the third time in 24 hours, but who was counting? "You defended me when you thought I was nobody," Destiny continued. "You offered me your home when you thought I was being mistreated. You risked angering your boss's fiancé to protect a woman you barely knew. That's not normal, Harmony. That's extraordinary." "I just did what was right," Harmony whispered. "And that," Destiny squeezed her hands, "is exactly why you're sitting here right now. Because doing what's right when it costs you something. That's the definition of character." She reached up and wiped the tears from Harmony's cheeks. "Welcome to this family, my daughter. You've earned your place here, not with money or beauty or sophistication, with your heart." Harmony fell into Destiny's arms, and they held each other, two women from different generations, different backgrounds, different walks of life, united by the kind of goodness that money can't buy and cruelty can't destroy. Xavier stood in the doorway, watching, and felt something shift inside him. This was his family now. This was real. This was right. The wedding took place 3 months later. It was held in the garden of the mansion on a Saturday afternoon in June, under a sky so blue it looked like God had painted it just for them. Harmony wore a simple white dress, elegant but not extravagant, just like her. Her natural hair was adorned with small white flowers, and she carried a bouquet of lilies. Xavier wore a navy suit and a smile that hadn't left his face in weeks. The guest list was small, deliberately small. Only the people who had proven themselves, who had stood by Xavier and Destiny when it mattered. No fake friends, no social climbers, no one who needed to be tested. When Harmony walked down the aisle, Destiny stood in the front row and cried. 23 years ago, she had been cast out of her parents' home, pregnant and alone, with $23 in her pocket and no future in sight. And now here she stood, in a mansion garden, watching her son marry a woman of extraordinary character, surrounded by people who genuinely loved them. "Thank you, God," Destiny whispered. "You didn't forget us." The pastor, a kind, silver-haired man named Pastor Franklin, smiled at the couple. "Today, we are not just witnessing a marriage," he said. "We are witnessing the reward of patience, the reward of sacrifice, the reward of choosing character over appearance and truth over comfort." He turned to Xavier. "Do you take this woman to be your wife, to love her, cherish her, and honor her in times of plenty and in times of want?" Xavier looked at Harmony with eyes full of love and certainty. "I do." "And do you, Harmony, take this man to be your husband, to love him, support him, and walk beside him, no matter what life brings?" Harmony's voice was clear and steady. "I do." "Then, by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife." Xavier pulled Harmony close and kissed her, while the small crowd erupted in cheers and tears. Destiny watched from her seat, her heart so full she thought it might burst. "My work is done," she whispered to herself. "My baby is safe." After the ceremony, during the reception, Xavier stood to make a speech. The garden was lit with string lights and candles. Music played softly in the background. Guests were laughing, eating, and celebrating. Xavier raised his glass. "I want to say something to the most important woman in my life." He turned to look at Destiny. "Mama, 23 years ago, you walked out of your parents' house with nothing but a suitcase and a baby growing inside you. The world turned its back on you. The man who was supposed to love you abandoned you. Your own family cast you out." The garden went quiet. "But you didn't give up. You scrubbed floors and sold vegetables in the rain. You went hungry so I could eat. You walked in broken shoes so I could have new ones. You loved me with everything you had, and you never, not once, let me feel like I wasn't enough." Destiny's tears were flowing freely now. You taught me that character matters more than money, that kindness is stronger than cruelty, that a mother's love can move mountains." Xavier's voice cracked. "And when the time came, you even disguised yourself as a maid. You endured insults and humiliation just to protect me from marrying the wrong woman." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "Because of you, Mama, I'm standing here today married to the most genuine, brave, and loving woman I've ever known. Harmony didn't love me for my money. She loved me when she thought I had nothing. And that kind of love, that's the only kind worth having." He raised his glass higher. "To my mother, to my wife, to the two women who taught me what real love looks like." "Cheers," the crowd echoed. Harmony squeezed Xavier's hand. Destiny smiled through her tears. And somewhere in a small town outside Atlanta, a man named Derek Thompson sat alone in a rented apartment, scrolling through social media, where he stumbled upon photos of his son's wedding. His son, the one he had abandoned, the one he had said he wanted nothing to do with. Xavier Williams, billionaire, visionary, married to a beautiful woman, standing next to a mother who had never given up on him. Derek stared at the photos for a long time. Then he put his phone down and stared at the ceiling. And for the first time in 23 years, he understood the true weight of what he had thrown away. That evening, after the last guest had left and the garden lights dimmed to a soft glow, Xavier found Destiny sitting alone on the porch swing. The same kind of porch swing she used to sit on at her parents' house, before everything changed. "Mama, come sit with me, baby." Xavier sat beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just listened to the crickets and the distant hum of the city and the peaceful silence of a story that had finally found its happy ending. "Are you okay?" Xavier asked. "More than okay." Destiny leaned her head against her son's shoulder. "I'm complete. I couldn't have done any of this without you, Mama." "Yes, you could have. You just would have taken a longer road to get here." She smiled. "But that's what mothers are for, to shorten the road and carry the map." Xavier laughed softly. "Mama, I need to ask you something." "Anything." "Are you happy, truly happy?" Destiny lifted her head and looked at her son. She cupped his face in her hands, the same way she had when he was 7 years old, asking why he didn't have a father. "Xavier, 23 years ago, I thought my life was over. I was 17, pregnant, homeless, and alone. I cried every night. I begged God for a reason to keep going." She paused. "But God was writing a story I couldn't read. Every tear, every struggle, every sleepless night, it was all leading here, to this moment. To you becoming the man you are, to Harmony coming into our lives, to this porch, to this peace." Her eyes shimmered with quiet joy. "I didn't just survive, Xavier. I won, we won." Xavier pulled his mother into a hug and held her tight. "I love you, Mama. I love you more, baby. I love you more." Later that night, as Xavier and Harmony settled into their first evening as husband and wife, Harmony turned to him with something still weighing on her mind. "Xavier." "Yeah." "Promise me something." "Anything." "No more tests, no more lies. No matter what happens, good or bad, we face it together, with honesty, with trust, with truth." Xavier took her hand and pressed it to his heart. "I promise, no more tests, no more pretending, just us." Harmony smiled, "Just us." "And Mama." Harmony laughed, "And Mama, always Mama." 1 year later, Destiny sat in the living room of her small house, the one she still refused to leave, holding her granddaughter in her arms. The baby girl had Xavier's eyes and Harmony's smile, and a set of lungs that could wake the entire neighborhood. "She's beautiful," Destiny whispered, rocking the baby gently. "She's absolutely beautiful." "We named her Hope," Harmony said from the doorway. "Because that's what you gave us, Mama. You gave us hope when the world gave you none." Destiny looked down at baby Hope and felt tears, the good kind, slide down her cheeks. "Hello, little one," she whispered. "Your grandmother has a story to tell you someday. A story about a girl who lost everything but never stopped believing that tomorrow would be better." She kissed Hope's forehead. And you know what? Tomorrow was better. Tomorrow was always better. So what's the lesson here? It's simple, but it's powerful. The people who love you for what you have will leave when the money runs out, the status fades, and the hard times come. But the people who love you for who you are will stay. They'll bring you groceries in a paper bag. They'll hand you their last dollar. They'll stand up for you when everyone else sits down. Choose those people, marry those people, hold on to those people and never let go. And to every single mother out there, every destiny watching this story right now, I want you to hear me clearly. Your struggle is not your ending. Your tears are not wasted. Every sacrifice you make, every sleepless night you endure, every meal you skip so your child can eat, it matters. It all matters. One day, your child is going to stand up and call you blessed. One day, the world is going to see what God sees when he looks at you, a warrior, a queen, a mother whose love built an empire. Don't give up, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. Because love doesn't always come when you expect it, but it always comes right on time. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment telling me the moment that hit you the hardest. Was it Destiny's sacrifice, Vanessa's exposure, Harmony's loyalty, or something else entirely? Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay blessed, stay wise, and remember, your character is your crown. Wear it proudly.